Welcome back to PRN Test Drive. I'm James, and this is the 2024 Chevrolet Silverado EV RST. Now, the RST trim was the top trim that money could buy you back in 2024, and I like this truck so much. I had to have my hands on it. I had to wait all the way until now, 2025, to get my hands on it, but I finally got it, and I can tell you, it was well worth the wait. I think Chevrolet developed this vehicle to directly compete with Tesla's Cybertruck, and I think that it does. If I had to choose between the two just based off design, I am absolutely 100% going with the Silverado EV because it looks like a pickup truck and also an EV. It doesn't look like something that I find in my house or in a backyard garbage. I think the Silverado EV really does a good job at blending pickup truck and EV worlds very nicely. So needless to say, I am very excited to tell you everything you need to know in case you're interested in actually buying one of these Chevrolet Silverado EVs. So first, let's talk about what is powering this thing. We have a 205 kilowatt hour battery. Let that number sink in. That is the biggest kilowatt hour battery I have ever seen, I have ever driven. That is crazy. And the range on it is 708 kilometers on a full charge. And I've been seeing exactly that number at 100% in the winter in -10 weather. So really good. So the battery doesn't seem to be losing really any range at all in colder weather, which I am very impressed and surprised by. So obviously with a big battery, we've got a lot of range. We also have quite a bit of power. This thing outputs 754 horsepower with 785 pound-feet of torque. So this thing can absolutely fly. The only thing is that with all of that battery comes quite a bit of weight. It weighs around 8,800 pounds. Call it 9,000, call it whatever you want. This thing is really heavy, and it does kind of feel heavy when you drive it. So yes, it is quick, don't get me wrong, but that 754 horsepower has to pull quite a lot of weight with it. Now, the maximum towing capacity for the 2024 version of the Silverado EV is going to be 10,000 pounds. Maximum payload is 1,500 pounds. Now, I've got an as-tested price of around $120,000. So if you want all this range and all this speed and, I mean, this really good looking truck, I mean, I don't know what you guys are gonna tell me, but I think it looks really sharp. But with all that sharpness and speed, you are gonna pay quite a lot of money, and I feel like a lot of you are going to tell me that's too much, and I might have to agree. $120,000, you're going to have to take out a mortgage to afford one of these things, in the top levels at least. Now, the Silverado EV is able to charge up to 350 kilowatt hours on a charger, but if you can find one, I have not found one in my area. The maximum I was able to find was a 180, and it's still a pretty decent speed from 10 to 80%, so I don't mind it too much. But 350s are currently hard to find in my area in Canada. But the good news is in 2025, there is a couple more options than in 2024 because you now have a couple of different battery options, which should help with pricing. You get the work truck standard range, you can get the work truck extended range, a max range. Same thing with the RXT, you can get the max range or an extended range if you need it. So that should be able to kind of lower the price a little bit in the work truck trim, or if you still want all the horsepower, you can still pay that pretty penny. So for 2025, design-wise, interior and exterior, there really isn't any changes, which is good news because I don't think the Silverado EV was that available in 2024. So if you're interested in 2025, you're not going to be that bad. But the design doesn't really need to change because I think the design of the Silverado EV is very sharp. I like this light bar in the front. I really like the ground clearance. It looks super nice. We also have a front trunk, and since I'm already standing in the front, I can show you. There's a little button here. It's super hidden, but it's very nice that there is a button to access that. Some EVs don't even give it to you. So it's gonna open right up, absolutely no problem. You've got a ton of space in there. It's really cool. It's cool to watch people like walk by me and like be like, oh, that's weird that he's just opening the front, but they don't realize that it's an EV. So very cool. Same thing if you want to close it. The button is super hidden. I'll be honest, it took me a lot longer than I like to admit to actually notice that there was a button there. But good news is that there is. So perfectly fine there. Love the front end. The side, it looks like a truck. The thing that people have pointed out the most is right where the bed starts and kind of the side panel ends, there's like this weird angle to it, and it just gives the truck's body a little bit of like a funky look, and I guess that kind of plays into the EV kind of notion, but that's the thing that people have said that they don't like. Personally, in this black color, I really don't mind it. Now, this is crazy, right? I think when you buy a pickup truck, you want to potentially off-road it, but I don't know if I would actually want to do that, because look at the size of these tires. They are 24-inch factory rims. 24. So this is what you come with when you get the RST. That is a that's a really, really big tire. And I checked on the door handle to see how much PSI were needed to be in these tires, like what Chevrolet recommends, and I saw 60 PSI. That's crazy. That's an insane amount of air. I mean, that's a lot of pressure, right, to have it. And it's just, I don't know. I'm curious to see if any of you have actually tried to off-road it, because I don't know if I would, just based off the size of these tires. Now, speaking of the tires, we also have four-wheel steering. So when my wheel is turned just like this, the back wheel is turned slightly opposite of that direction. It's not a very noticeable turn. If you're not looking for it, you might not notice it happen, or if the car is not sitting like this, you might not really notice either. But still, it's really cool. It gives the vehicle a much greater turning radius, and it's a little bit easier to maneuver in like tight parking spaces. So I've absolutely appreciated it. We've also got things like 360-degree cameras and all of the detection systems that you're used to on our top trim GM vehicles. It's all here, and it's very much appreciated, because this thing is big, and driving in tight spaces with a big pickup truck that's really expensive can sometimes be a little bit nerve-wracking. So I'm glad I have it. When you look at the Silverado EV from the back, it looks very, very nice as well. We've got plenty of room in the truck bed as well. I've got the soft cover on mine, but it's very, very spacious, and you can also fold down the midgate. You can take out the rear glass, and you can have a ton more room. So basically, you can take things from the bed and pass it right through into the interior passenger side. So you have a ton of space lengthwise, and in some cases, if you take out the glass, height-wise here in the Chevy Silverado EV. So that's really, really good news. So overall, design-wise, like I said, very great. I have absolutely no problems with it. I'm actually a fan of it. And again, when you look at something like the Tesla Cybertruck, this thing just looks better because it looks like what it's supposed to be, an actual EV pickup truck. And I absolutely love that. So it's pretty cold out here, although I'm just wearing a sweater. Let's hop on the interior, because I want to show you everything there is to see over there. All right, so standing outside quickly, because I want to show you a little bit of what these folding seats can actually do. So say you want to open the midgate, or you just want a little bit of a pass-through, you can do that from this side of the vehicle. I can't fold down the whole thing right now because I got my baby seat right there. So we will just kind of show you basically what it does. So you can fold the seats like that by pulling a little tab, and then there will be another tab on the seat here on the bottom where you'll pull that as well, and then this whole thing will fold down. You're going to want to fold in your two headrests there, one button there, and that's going to do that. So you can see it all kind of falls into place right there. So once these seats are down and in place, you press a little button right there, you hear something unlock, and you can actually pull this whole entire spot down. And I have full access now into the rear of the bed. So say you do still want a passenger seat, say you do have a child seat like I do strapped right there, well, you don't actually have to take it out to kind of get a little bit more bedroom should you need it. You can easily slide stuff in it. So if I didn't have a child seat in, I could actually fold down the other seat. You have to do it in this order. You have to have this side down first, and then take that seat down. And then there's two clips right up there on the roof, which you could pull, and that'll allow the glass to slide down, and it's very easy to store it before you put this guy up. You can store it right here, and everything will fold right down at the same time, and you'll have full access up and down and also through into your bed, which is really, really cool. So it's quick to fold it back up too. Clicks into place, no problem. Seats come right back up. It's all relatively lightweight, so you're really not gonna have an issue one-handing this thing. Seat folds right back in, and you can hop in like it's a normal vehicle. So once you're sitting in the inside, actually in a passenger seat, here I have got a ton of room. It's just ridiculous. I'm sitting behind my driver profile, no problem space-wise. It's so roomy back here. Headroom, legroom, general personal space room. You got it. I got a big Bose sound system speaker right next to me, two USB charge ports, a couple of vents here as well, and I've also got a full power outlet and two heated seats for the passenger side and the driver side as well. So very good. I've also got a little guy here that's going to fold down. Fits child seats very well. Absolutely no problem. A huge, nice view of this big piece of panoramic glass that we've got here. Really can't go wrong. I've also got more cup holders in front of me, and the windows are nice and tinted. So really, absolutely no problem. Seats are very comfortable. I like the seats design as well. Really no complaints back here, and it's very versatile. You can have storage in any which way you want with the seats folded down, up, whatever you need to do. The EV Silverado can adapt to it, and I think that's a really, really cool piece of engineering. All right, so now we're sitting in the business end front seat Silverado EV. What a place to spend time. Really, really comfortable seats here, heated and ventilated. Of course, this price point, so very nice to see. No massage seats, so that luxury item, I guess, is kind of going to be missing for some people, but honestly not something I use too much. I've got memory seats here, 2 seating levels of it. Over all the way to the left-hand side, I have my parking brake. I have the ability to unlock the tailgate and open the front trunk. And I also have a button for my adaptive air suspension, so I can raise the ride height quite a lot. It also has an easy exit and entry mode, so it kind of gets pretty low. And that's actually the mode that I've had to put it in when I'm going through car washes and things like that. The one time this week that I was actually able to wash the car, when the car washes were actually open in my area, I had to really lower it because this truck is extremely tall. So that entry exit height thing really comes in handy. Now, overall, the steering wheel is very nice. I've got Super Cruise enabled, which means on mapped out highways, it will be able to drive itself, do the lane changes for me and everything like that. Basically, take care of you perfectly fine. Very nice. I have this paddle as well here on the steering wheel. That is the regenerative braking paddle. You've probably seen it if you've driven a GM EV, where sometimes it's just a button that you can hold, but this has some travel to it. This feels like almost like a hand pedal, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that when we take it for a drive, because I can actually like squeeze this on and off, and it'll kind of brake for me just a little bit. So I think that's really awesome. Physical buttons all along the steering wheel. I've also got a very nice gear selector, very easy to use. It is the stock, kind of like the Tesla formula a little bit there, or the old Tesla formula anyways. Very nice to have though. I don't mind it at all. Now, I do have a fully digital gauge cluster. It looks really clean. You have a couple of different themes that you can go through because, of course, this does have Android Automotive built in. So naturally, I can have Google Maps pulled up right there in my infotainment display. Really good news as well. Then we move over to our massive digital infotainment display. Really big. Again, no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto here. This is purely Android Automotive. You can plug in your phone all you want. It'll connect only via Bluetooth, and that's it. Now, the good news is if you're a Google Maps or Spotify user, you'll be right at home here with the Silverado EV because both of those apps are built in. So you just log into both of them, and it's basically like using CarPlay a little bit because I use Spotify anyways, and I also use Google Maps mainly. So that's really good news for those people, but I just feel like you're taking something away that's already offered. This is something I've complained about in the past, so I won't go too much into it, but I would have just preferred to see an option for phone projection. That's it. Just put it in. You don't have to make it crazy functional. Just put it in. But other than that, I can access my 360-degree cameras. I can customize my drive modes from here. I can turn on the WOW mode, which is basically gives us full power, all 754 horsepower. It's going to make a noise. Check this out. Noise scares me every time. It's really loud. It blasts through the speakers. There's no way to adjust it. So I do have a couple of physical controls. I've got knobs for the temperature controls. I've got a button for my heated steering. I've also got some quick HVAC controls. I can lower and raise the fan speed. I can also have max defrost on if I need to, but that's it. Everything else, you're gonna rely on this infotainment display to do for you, which isn't a bad thing because it works well, but obviously I prefer physical buttons for HVAC, quick stuff like that. Heated and ventilated seats are all going to be controlled through here. You do have built-in Amazon Alexa as well, and yeah, basically everything you would need to do or control, including the lights on the vehicle, is all through the infotainment display. Some of you absolutely don't like that, but Niall did a very interesting video if you want to go check it out on how, you know, the screens are kind of taking over, and the Blazer EV again is a huge example of that. And I mean, it does save companies money. They don't need to wire that many buttons. They just make it all through a screen, but still, I will always miss my physical buttons. So other than that, I do have a digital rear view mirror, very nice. I've got a ton of storage, wireless charging, 2 USB-C ports down here. This kind of center console can move out of the way a little bit. I've got a very nice trim on, I like the red and blue stitching on my armrest here. A little bit of storage in there as well with a USB-C port, as well as I have a badge with the Silverado First Edition on it. That is, I guess if you were an early adopter of the Silverado EV in 2024, you got a badge like that, and this was probably an early model of it, so we do have the badge on my tester. The passenger gets a little bit of storage there as just above the glove compartment spot. Very easy to see and use there, very easy to be a passenger, although that's not really what I would want to do in this. I would like to drive it to truly feel all of its power. So let's take this thing out for a test drive and let me talk to you about all its power and everything else in between. Let's get on the road. All right, so out on the road now with the 2024 Chevrolet Silverado EV. Really, really nice ride quality, very decent just off the bat. Right, as soon as I stepped in, I mean, the air suspension, whenever you hear air suspension, you're usually going to expect a pretty good ride quality experience, and that's exactly what this is. Very comfortable. I can adjust it, but usually I just let the vehicle do it itself. The only time that I've really had to use kind of the higher ride height modes was when I was in like a tight parking spot. When I was at the Montreal Auto Show, I drove this downtown, and the guy was just like, look, just drive it right off. Don't even bother. Don't bother backing up. Just drive it off the sidewalk. It's pretty, you should be okay. So I raised it up a little bit, and I was able to do that no problem. So for stuff like that, it's good. Just like I said, with the tires being so big, I don't know if I would actually feel confident, you know, actually doing some serious off-roading with this thing. And we do have like an off-road mode, but even then, I think it would scare me. The tires are just so massive. And that might be a huge help, but I don't know. Let me know if you've ever done off-roading with your Silverado EV, because honestly, I don't see any of them out here, or I can't even ask anybody. I can't stop an owner in public and be like, hey, have you done it? Have you tried it? Because I'm literally the only one in my area here that is driving this vehicle around, which does attract quite a lot of attention from, you know, just people coming up to me in the parking lot and including the police just coming by to tell me you have a very nice truck, which was quite interesting. I thought I was going to get in trouble for something, but nope, they were just complimenting the cool EV. Definitely not as much attention as a Cybertruck would get you, but still, there is quite a bit of interest still in this thing. So let's turn it on the max power mode. There's no like dedicated sport mode. The throttle, the accelerator can be in sport mode and stuff like that, but there's no like dedicated mode other than when you press the full power, plays that noise like you just heard, and let's give it the beams. Let's do it. Oh my God. Oh my, it's like the way that it gives power, like it can't even keep up with itself. It's sliding a little bit. Back and forth, I'm getting the shakes, like, oh my goodness. I had loose stuff here in the back, it seems, and I think it just flew absolutely everywhere. Oh my goodness. And I honestly can't do that too much because it's so much force trying to pick up so much weight. It actually gives me quite a bit of a headache. It gives me like motion sickness like crazy. But oh man, that thing is just ridiculous. It's like, it just pulls. I mean, it looks like a freight train. It absolutely pulls like a freight train too. It's just crazy power. And that's the thing, right? It's like, if they found out how to reduce weight in this thing, I'd just give it a pair of wings and let it take off, you know, put me on the runway and I'll just take off with this thing. It's just ridiculously quick. Now, how often are you going to need or use any of that power other than when you're towing? Probably not very often at all. You know, because I really only push it like that. Oh my God. Okay. I'm gonna puke here. Oh my goodness. I really only do that when other people are in the car that haven't really experienced the speed of this truck before. That's it. I mean, I guess the power is going to be very useful for towing. And one of the things that I noticed when talking to some Ford F-150 Lightning owners about their towing capacity and stuff, they said that they lose quite a bit of range when they tow like quite heavy things because they don't feel like they had that much range really to begin with. And so I think with this one, when you got such a big battery, when you have over 700 kilometers of range, when you do tow something and it does take a little bit less or a little bit more of your EV range, it's not going to impact you as much as like an F-150 owner just because you have that extra buffer. You have so much range. out of, you know, your battery here. So that is something good about having a bigger battery when you are going to start to try to tow stuff. Handling wise, it's very good. Like I said, turning radius is extremely good because of the rear steering, which is really interesting to use, especially on a pickup truck. I've had it on some SUVs, but never on a pickup truck before, so it's really interesting. Also, you can probably hear the pumped-in audio going on, so like it's quite loud actually, the pumped-in audio, but I don't mind it when I'm in like a sporty mode. It's okay to have, you know, all the personality of the Silverado come out. I don't mind that at all. Now, handling is weird because you do really feel the weight when it drives. Like, no matter what I do, I feel how heavy this vehicle truly is. It's got a lot of weight to it, and stopping in the winter on like quite a bit of ice sometimes. I mean, this thing has really big brakes, really good brakes as well. I feel like they grab very well, but sometimes 9,000 pounds or 8,800 pounds on ice is just really heavy to stop in winter fully. So, you know, you do have to be a little careful when you're, you know, kind of driving this thing in some bad weather. It does have all-wheel drive, so, you know, again, you're gonna have to be pretty dumb to get this thing stuck, but still, the immediate stopping power is just really not there, especially on some heavy ice. I did hit some heavy ice here in Quebec here, so it scared me a little bit because I was like, oh boy, but there was nobody in front of me, so it wasn't a big deal. But it's just something to keep in mind, that this thing does travel very fast, but to travel very fast, you know, you need really good stopping power, and if you're on ice, those weight and ice just don't seem to mix well. I also, like I said, I notice it a little bit when I'm handling. It requires, even with the all-wheel steering, it requires a little bit more steering input on the tighter turns, especially at speed. Like if you're on a highway and you take like one of those turns, it does take a little bit more input, but once it's in the turn, once you're going through the turn, it feels very planted. Low center of gravity, of course, because the battery's on the floor. The very heavy battery is on the floor here with this truck, so, you know, that's gonna be okay as well, but still, you know, it's heavy, and you definitely notice it. Now, visibility is also pretty decent as well. Got the digital rear view mirror, which helps. Got big side view mirrors, a nice and decent sized windshield. The sitting position is good enough so that I can always see, you know, kind of the hood line. So kind of always know about the width I am. I am, again, quite wide as well. So, you know, this is no small truck by any means. This is a no joke kind of EV vehicle truck in general. So, yeah, you definitely need everything you can get. Like I said, the 360-degree cameras are a very welcome thing for me because I can kind of always see where my tires are and different things like that. So it's very useful. Very happy that I have them. One pedal driving is also very nice. You can actually turn it off. When you turn it off, the throttle resistance actually changes quite a bit. There's really no more resistance at all, but I can actually fully brake with this little hand paddle here. So I can kind of gradually pull it, or I can fully pull it, and the car will kind of really brake quite heavily. And again, if I do that too much, I will have to vacate my stomach, which I don't want to do. So, but yeah, it's really interesting, that part too. So it's literally almost like a manual handbrake. It's very cool the way it works. Like you'll notice if you ever drive one of these, this paddle here has quite a bit of travel. It's not a click on, click off situation. It's a very interesting setup. So let's kind of do the same thing. We're going to coast up to the speed bump, and then I'm going to gradually squeeze my paddle to slow down for it, and back on the accelerator. Really cool. It's really cool, but I just usually leave it in one pedal driving. Because there's levels. There's like low, there's normal, and there's high. High gives me absolute car sickness. Can't do it. Normal is definitely the sweet spot. On any of them, it will come to a full stop. It's just the braking aggressiveness that you're going to be adjusting there. So yeah, really no problems there. On the normal setting, it feels like you're any other EV there when you're driving through it. Just takes a little bit longer to stop again on ice, even with a one pedal driving activated. So that's just going to about do it for all my thoughts on the Chevrolet Silverado EV. I'm very glad that I waited for this one. It's such an interesting EV to me. It's probably one of the most interesting EVs that I've driven, and because of how much range you're getting, because of the battery size, because of the way it looks and the attention that it gets, it's definitely up there with some of the most interesting ones, probably alongside the Cybertruck, and something like maybe the Volkswagen ID Buzz would have kind of the same interest in it. So really cool, but again, super high price point, so you're not going to see a lot of people drive these things. Although I think they really deserve to be seen and driven because they are quite nice looking trucks. I saw one in like this really like electric blue or something like that. It looked really, really good. Even in black though, still looks good. White looks good. I think this truck body style, I personally really do enjoy it. Love the air suspension, love the amount of space, love the front trunk. It's all very good stuff. It's just really expensive, but for all that money, you get quite a bit of speed and weight. And if that's something you like, then you'll definitely like the Silverado EV. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you own one. Let me know if you think they're too expensive. I want to hear all of your thoughts in the comments. So tell me what you think, and we'll be answering you shortly about, we can have a little discussion of the Silverado EV. And with that being said, I will see you in the next week. See you in the next car. Take care.